So we're here with Bart Oates. Hi, Bart.
Hi,
welcome.
Brandon.
Brandon Rogers.
Brandon Rogers.
Mr.
Okay.
Rogers. So tell me, what is it you do in your life right now? How are you involved with Pure Recovery? What is it you do? What have you dedicated your life to? What's your mission?
So, a little background.
Yeah.
I played in the NFL. I played 14 years professionally and been retired for about 20 years. But I'm also the president of the NFL Alumni Association. And so my involvement comes from being able to provide services to my colleagues, my peers, who, as I've come, through the years, I've realized that while we all have the guys who played in the NFL come from different backgrounds and have different experiences, something that's fairly common to all of them as they are out of the game for 10 or 15 years is they start to have physical issues. The years of playing start to catch up to them. Some guys sooner, but typically all of them at some point in that. And it can be physical, it can be mental, emotional. And so through the Alumni Association, we've created, with the help of Group Optimal Wellness Group, a Optimal Wellness Challenge. And with the mission to provide a message to the former players about what they need to do, what they can do, and what they should do to be proactive in their own wellness.
Your mission is to spread the word.
It's like being a missionary, man. I want them to know, and it's self-serving too, because I want to know what's out there in this world of medicine, right? That will help me live the best quality of life for as long as I can, right? I don't want just length, I want quality and length, right? And so there's so much in today's technology in the medical world, in the nutrients and training and information that I think is important for guys like me and those who played, that if we know these things, because we'll do things that can help us improve our lives and the lives of those around us.
What do players experience that you're wanting to help them overcome? What do they experience when they've had major injuries, maybe head injuries, or when they're leaving the league? Or they experience a lot of emotional things that you can help them with, physical and emotional. What do you think are the biggest problems that players have?
Well, it's wellness. So,
overall wellness.
So I'm looking at the N of one, right? This is not about generalization, because everybody's wellness journey is individual.
Yes.
We each have our own wellness continuum, right? 0 to 100, right? 0 being dead, that's not good. 100 is perfect, and you're never there. But everybody is somewhere. Some are maybe at 80%, some's over there at 30%. But there's always, even if you're 80%, there's something that you can do proactively to improve your wellness. It could be mental, emotional. It may be physical. It could be orthopedic. It might be nutritional, right? It could be flexibility. There's a myriad of things. And so it's really finding individually what is that person's Achilles heel? What is their weakness? What do they need to work on? And then we create a program, help them, educate them to create a program, and the resources to create a program so that they can get better.
So you're talking about helping the player maintain health after they leave the regimented, structured life of the league.
Could be maintained, it could be improved, it could be regained. Maybe they don't have it. I mean, there's a lot of guys that get out and, with particularly guys with severe, with TBI, some react very negatively and have, they're affected by it tremendously. So it's getting to these guys early, letting them know that there are resources, that there are experts in the medical world that want to help them and help them, give them the resources, give them the information, the knowledge that what they need to do. So our Western medicine is, for the most part, is reactive, right? It's when you get sick, you go to the doctor. And this message is about, don't wait till you get sick. There's so much you can do now to avoid getting sick and to have a better quality of life.
What are the types of problems that you're talking about that players have? What's the spectrum? What are we talking about here?
Well, Right. So it's all everything, right? There's cardiovascular issues. It could be things such as hypertension and high blood pressure and obesity resulting from obesity. It could be cancer related. It might be mood swings or thoughts, depression. It could orthopedic arthritis. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's no different than, football players' issues, health issues are no different than the population as a whole. Same issues. It's just maybe they're a little different.
Magnified, of course.
Sometimes magnified, particularly the orthopedic ones, right? I mean, I've got arthritis, I've got joint issues, but, a lot of people do.
Of course. So we're talking about head injuries too, right? I mean, obviously that's going to be a major issue, right?
It is a major issue.
Okay.
I don't know if it's the major issue, but it's definitely, it needs to be addressed.
What's the percentage of players that you think would say have had some sort of effect from obviously playing football?
20%.
Okay.
And that's just a wildly unsubstantiated guess, all right?
Yeah.
You're asking for a number, I'm going to say 20%.
Okay.
I don't think it's a majority of the guys.
Okay.
I think most of the guys leave the game and cognitively they're okay. But I think there are, which significant minority of guys that do have issues. So it needs to be addressed.
Okay, so head stuff.
Head stuff.
Then would you classify most other people, well, you probably would want to say psychological, right? That's probably applies to everyone. Because you're living way up here.
Yeah.
Then you're going to stop all that. And so that's a major issue, right?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by you living way up here.
An A-level life.
Okay.
You're like a star. From even people who aren't stars, they're still living.
I'm an offensive lineman. I didn't look, that wasn't me. I protected the stars.
Yeah.
The quarterbacks and the running backs, those were the stars.
So we have head stuff here.
Yep.
Okay? And we have to have like psychological something. I mean, because players, what's most likely players are going to have at least going to have a big letdown in life. They're living at a high-speed life. Everything's planned for them. Everything's regimented, making lots of money, and they're going to feel like a celebrity in some ways because they have a lot of attention, or they're going to be around celebrities. Mm-hmm. What are the kinds of things players feel? What's the gamut? What do they feel? What specific things are they going through?
Well, the temptation with playing in the NFL is to let that lifestyle become who you are, right? And so it kind of to change you as to who you really are. To, let's say, identify yourself as I'm a football player, and that's your identity, and that's dangerous because football, NFL stands for not for long. You're not there long. I mean, 95% of anybody that gets on an NFL football field is retired before they're 30 years old. All right, and so it's a lifestyle that can become very addictive, and yet it's going to be short. Best of circumstances, your mid-30s, and so it's now over with. And so, guys, there is an emotional, a mental adjustment to it. And that's the hardest thing. And it doesn't matter, quite frankly, it doesn't matter who the player is, whether it's a player that plays 1 year or even goes to camp, or a player that plays 15 years and has a long and successful career. There's always that, I want a little bit more, I'd like to play a little bit longer. And that, typically most guys leave with this kind of this open-ended, that there's still business to finish, that they're leaving with it not having finished all of the, say there's still more I can do, I should do. And so there's this, they don't have a closure. Does that make sense? And so a lot of guys, it's difficult to deal with it, and particularly guys that haven't really created a transition plan, because everything you do, I mean, you're talking about some high energy, some A personality, great athletes, and that's been their focus, and to focus everybody around them since they were little kids to be a professional athlete, and they've gone on, they've accomplished it, and they've gotten there, and that's their lifestyle, and so now it's gone.
And most all players have to be massively driven, determined, disciplined. They have to have all these attributes that have made them
gifted athletes. I mean, it is.
But they have to be driven. They have to be like A-type personalities in some way, at least that they're nearly focused.
Coachable?
Well, definitely so. My point is that they're going to be going after something. You have to feel some sort of vacancy or emptiness.
Absolutely. Right? That's what I'm saying. There's not closure. So the majority of the guys, I played till I was 37. I left, and and I was already a practicing attorney, and there still wasn't closure. It still took me literally years before I said, I'm ready to move on, and say, that there was some emotional, mental closure.
To find a new vision.
Passion.
A new passion.
Right. I mean, I had a direction. I remember I was a practicing attorney, but you can't duplicate. There's no way to duplicate those experiences, that emotional satisfaction, in any other way. That competitiveness at that level, and I was fortunate. I was on very competitive teams. I went on three of the teams I was on. We won Super Bowl championships, so I was able to experience the ultimate. The dream of what every NFL player does is win the Super Bowl. He kind of called ring the bell, and there's still not closure for me. I mean, at that point, early in my retirement.
How did you develop a new passion?
I don't know if I did. Quite frankly, I can't say I have a passion like I had for football, right?
Do players need to? Can they? How often do they do?
No, you can't. I mean, some can, but to me, mentally, the way I did it is I just realized that's a part. It's a great part of my life, but it's time to move on. And I don't have to have that intensity, that degree. I can enjoy lots of other activities and hobbies, etc. But the expectation is I don't expect to go back to that, to have that kind of intensity, if you will, to create the satisfaction in my life. There's other things I can do that maybe I don't have that degree of compassion, because you have the passion, but it's because of the effort. It's because of what you've sacrificed to get there with you and your teammates, your brothers. You just can't duplicate that, right? I don't care what you do, but you learn. You just kind of learn to internalize. Time to move on.
What do players, what can they do to redirect their passion, to find a new passion? Maybe they can't find a bigger passion. What can they do? I mean, maybe we've seen a lot of players want to mentor other players, younger leagues, younger kids, mentor young kids. What can they do?
Any number of things. I think the key is to really find joy in what you do, to kind of live in the moment, if you will, all right? So that too much of, I know as a football player, it was like, all right, your whole mission was about getting to playoffs, making it to the Super Bowl, and just in that process, and so you do whatever it took, but you didn't quite frankly, I don't think, for me anyway, it was that ever, not ever, but too often missed kind of the moment, and just was looking to the future.
So you're always looking, as a player, you're always looking for that one, you're going for that one big thing.
You can't think about successes of the past, because that doesn't help you going forward.
Do you need to have, as a player, have that same sort of big mission to replace, to live at optimal wellness?
You need to have something like it, sure. You need to have direction.
Yes.
Everybody does. Everybody needs to have a direction, a mission. Right?
It's been said that the way to conquer fear or any problems in your life is the great vision. To have a great vision, to have a great passion. So maybe you can find that. Maybe a player can find that. Yeah. You can probably help them find that.
And I don't want to imply that there's only one singular great mission that
for every different person.
Right, and it doesn't mean that you can't have multiple passions.
Right. That's how we can address some of the bigger systemic life issues is a passion, a mission, and that filters down to covering some of their psychological issues of vacancy and so forth. No doubt you have to cover a lot of the gamut of issues in transition, and you have things in place to do that, I'm sure. But what about the big discussion going on about concussions and head injuries and so forth? How do you deal with that? What's the process you can take players through? What do they experience during a head injury?
Well, I mean, it's different for everybody.
Okay.
What head injury means, and
Yeah.
you know, as a result of their years, the years of playing competitively, some adjust to it. Some have issues, some don't. Like I said, earlier we thought, you know, I'm thinking myself, it's probably 20% of the guys will have issues resulting from head trauma to some extent, and that it will be at some point needs to be addressed. It could be addressed emotionally. It could be that they're going to have to go to, you know, actually seek treatment. Nevertheless, I think a lot of it is just, again, going back to our wellness challenge, is giving them information, knowledge about what their options are, what the resources. I mean, we're here in Oxnard with Pure Recovery because that's a mission. Deb Whitney and her group have designed this just wonderful, compassionate, caring organization to help people that have these issues about recovery. And it's the same thing. It's with concussions and head trauma and some of the issues of depression and, you know, memory and other issues that you have that need to be addressed and can be addressed through the program that she's created. And so it's been, to me, it's these types of resources like her, and hers is somewhat unique, but that we can utilize and help people know that they have these resources that'll give them hope. You know, the people that are having it, they don't know why they're depressed. It's not something they choose. It's a physiological result of what's going on in their brain and what's happened to them.
I want to get to that in a second. So we've seen sort of a rising collaboration of different organizations. There have been, and it's certainly significant players have seen this and want to put their attention to it. Like their big mission after the league has been to draw attention to helping people transition. Mm-hmm. Like Daniel Carcillo, for one person I happen to know, was a two-time NHL Stanley Cup winner for the Chicago Blackhawks. Yep. And other people I've spoken with in this chair have expressed that vision of wanting to give back and mentor other players and other even kids. What is the collaboration partnerships you've seen that have sort of risen and saying, we want to address these issues with athletes? Who have you seen do that? So who have been the partners that have risen up and formed the sort of collaboration?
Pure Recovery is one of those organizations that has really kind of come to the forefront with a passion and a methodology, a template to treat players with these types of issues, whether it's issues resulting from the brain trauma or whether it's addictive behaviors. They're treated in a very compassionate and a caring way that is, to me, is very unique, and just overly impressed with that type of passion, that commitment.
What's their background? How are they tied in? I know some of these. I think that some of these players, some of the players, have spoken about Pure Recovery, but why are they? How are they tied into the network of the league and the connections of everyone? I don't understand.
Everyone's a little
why
different.
Them? Have there been other people that have been doing this?
Sure, there's other groups.
Okay.
And listen, it's a problem bigger than Pure can address and cure, right? So that Pure Recovery. And so there are a number of groups, but for what they do, it's somewhat unique, and it's one of these. It's a program that, as I've gotten to know it, is unique in the way that they treat their patients, treat their clients, and address the issues, and be able to have an environment that is nurturing. And I was talking to an individual. He said that this was the fifth location that recovery center he'd been to in a year and a half. And it was the first one that explained how unique it was with the hands-on approach and just the concern and the location, the ambiance, etc.
What is it that you think needs to be addressed in a player's recovery? You mentioned like specialized attentive care. What needs to be addressed?
I think one of the biggest problems with players, yes, and it's inherent in who we are, is show no pain. There's this protection, there's this shield that you keep in front, that you're not going to show pain. Doesn't matter what pain you're in, you don't show. You were taught from an early age that with an opponent you never show weakness. You never show pain. Pain's a weakness. And so regardless of what happened, you walked off that field. I never got carted off. I walked off. I may not have come back, but I walked off because I didn't want that opponent to see that I was in pain. And so that emotion, it's inherent almost in every player. So you have to break that down. That's a wall, because that is preventative, right? That's one of those, it prevents someone from recovering. It prevents somebody from being able to open up and say, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm feeling, these are my issues. Because unless you can do that, then you really can't get to the root of the problem.
What else? What are the different things that need to be addressed in a player's recovery, especially if a head injury? What needs to be addressed?
I mean, there's the obvious cognitive issues. Diet is hugely important.
Diet, fitness,
right,
exercise.
So you have to put the exercise in. Yes. So I mean, in a large, right, some of the basics, it's not rocket science, but it's how it's implemented. And that's where
the things I've seen with the brain scans and the things that they're doing, does seem like rocket science.
Well, there is, right? The technology.
I don't understand what's going on there. What do you know about it?
You've
what
got,
does it matter?
Right, there's DNA, there's information about DNA that is hugely important. There's stem cells. I mean, there's so much, the technology and equipment that's improved, and new stuff that's out there, supplements that that are new and improving. All of this information is out there. It's just being able to collect it and put it into the right hands and then disseminate it.
Okay, but what do you know? Like, we've talked about partnerships. Who do players need to know about? That they need when they go to recovery centers, maybe they come to Pure. Who do they need to connect with to do certain brain scans? What do they need to know about? And who should they?
Once they come to an organization like Pure Recovery, they don't need to know anything else, because it's at that point everything is provided, right? All of the resources, all of the the nutritional counseling, everything else.
What do you play from a player's perspective? What do they need to know about what kinds of brain scans, things they're going to go through in a center like Pure Recovery, or they need to be aware about? What does it do?
Well, I think that there's a number of organizations. And it's getting to the right organization that will then, players don't have to know all the little intricacies, right? They don't know which new cardiologist, which neurologist, which...
They take care of all of that.
That's all done, yeah. So it's organization. So with me, I was fortunate enough to be introduced to a company called Optimal Wellness Group, and they help me the whole mission is about preventative medicine, and that resonated with me.
They do the high-level brain mapping scanning?
Well, they've gone out and they've created partnerships, if you will, with companies that do that, and some of the best technologies. And so they've gone out and collected that information, and keep searching for the latest and the greatest.
So they've kind of joined the collection of different partners that have wanted to do this, and they've kind of pulled the resources together for different centers to use for players to have it all mapped out for them. Okay, so what exactly what is the experience? What does it actually do? High level, what is the process of brain scanning and mapping and the things that Optimal Wellness you said did?
Right. So part of the brain mapping, the scanning is utilizing the technology to understand what's happened with the brain, and then actually use it as a therapeutic, rehabilitative tool, so that there's a curative effect to it as well. It's great to know what happened, what condition you're in, but you also then now have to have a protocol. How do you address it? How do you cure it? How do you treat it?
So you've been doing this for a long time. You're a long time part of this organization and former NFL player, and you've been to the Super Bowl. Wow.
I've been in 3 Super Bowls, yes.
It's amazing. Thank you very much for sharing and your commitment to making good things happen.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right.